I got a lot of it off my, I'm not one to sit around biting my tongue. We know that. So it's not, I don't have anything at all to get off of my chest. I think the one person I've literally had zero communication with since May is Luann. And there's a lot of noise, and people talk a lot, and she said this and that. And it's like, I don't play in that sandbox. I don't do the mess. So I would have looked forward to the opportunity to look my castmate who, for better or for worse, we completed, unprecedented season of filming a show in a pandemic together. We did that. I have mutual respect for her as such. And how are you feeling? Ask her those questions. How are you feeling? What is it that you might want to express to me about your perception as to the episodes, what's happened since, and just share any thoughts. Because I think that's what's productive, is being direct with your feelings, whatever they are, with the person you actually have the feeling toward.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. And you've been in contact with everyone else, including Ramona?
In some way. Mm-hmm.
Well, I saw that gorgeous white dress that you were going to wear. Have you worn it? And are you going to wear it for something else?
I have not worn it. The sad thing is that Essie, that brilliant, incredible Nigerian designer who custom made that gown for me, was going to gift me with that dress, of course, in exchange for the ability to wear it on the RHONY reunion. Because the reunion is not happening, I couldn't accept that gift. That woman put hours and thousands of dollars into the gown. So that is her gown. We did name it the Ebony. So I'm sure some delighted woman will get to wear that somewhere very special.
I think so. Well, it was gorgeous. So hopefully you'll wear it somewhere.
Thank you.
Maybe you'll wear it on a date somewhere. So,
Yeah, maybe I'll just wear it to pick up some Pinkberry, David. I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, stranger things have happened. I mean, on that note, we saw you with the matchmaker this season. And I know when you were here last time, you mentioned you had a date that very night we spoke. What's going on with your dating life, Ebony?
It's very active. It's very active. I have still not met the one or fallen in love. But even since our last conversation, which was months ago, I have gone out with some incredible men. Some of them 2-3 dates, some of them one date, some of them virtual dates, some of them in-person dates, some of them destination dates, which I didn't know was a thing until now. So listen, it's been a lot of fun, and I've learned a lot, even still at this age and life point, about what I really value in a man. And I mean, not to get too psychobabble, but not having any father anything for 37 years, definitely complicates your expectation of what a man is in your life. And so just the mere knowing I have an actual father, knowing his name, knowing he exists, despite the relationship between him and I not really progressing at this point yet, just those fundamentals of knowing I have a father and knowing what he looks like and what his name is has really helped alleviate some of the, I think, wire crossing that I had been doing in relationships, where it's like, is there some part of me, even subconsciously, that's expecting this man to be a little bit of a father, and letting go of that expectation and recognizing that little Ebony, sadly, will just never get that, right? Like, we can't go back in time and recapture what should have been that paternal relationship throughout my, child rearing years, right?
Yeah.
That sadly, that ship has sailed. But now Big Ebony gets to define and establish what a husband role looks like, what a man in my life at this point as two fully formed adults, what that looks like. And that's been a really cool learning process.
That's good. And in a way, the show probably helped with that, in the sense that, I mean, I don't know, if maybe you were going to look for your father regardless, but I mean, that probably was tied into this, right? This whole experience.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna look for him, and I had been procrastinating around that for forever. And what the show did was give me a little more. Two things: the show and COVID gave me urgency around it, because everything that I did by way of the show was about what can I do on this platform that's going to help other people, right? And of course, you can imagine the hundreds of DMs and comments that I've gotten from other people in similar situations who have now taken the steps to find their father, mother, sister, brother, family. So that's really rewarding. And what the show also did is I didn't know there was such thing as a genetic investigator. So after I did the DNA test with Ashley, who was the only kind of lead I'd ever had around by way of father, and that came back that it wasn't a match, so that man wasn't my father, that would have been the end of the road for me. Like, okay, I tried, I failed, sad. What the show did was go research and figure out, oh, wow, there's actually a genetic investigator, which is a whole thing I didn't know existed, that can take just your DNA, because that was what was hard. It's not like I had a name or a city or a location. I just had nothing, you know. And I thought, if you don't have some facts for an investigator, they're not going to be able to do their job. And I found out all you need is saliva.
And that was something positive that came out of this whole experience.
Extremely. Like, I mean, that probably, you know, in retrospect, that's actually obviously my high note, finding my father, followed by her own name. Yes.
Both of those.
Yeah.
Do you feed into, you know, now that the season's over and we talk about closure and, you know, do you feed into all the online, I mean, I call them internet trolls, you could say chatter, where there's all these rumors, you know, about casting and like, this one's going to be a friend and Ramona's going to be a friend and these people aren't going to be back. Like, does that cause you angst, and do you feed into all that nonsense?
It causes me zero angst. And the reason why is just I've been in the business, and some of these aspects of the business are unique to reality, and some of them it's just the business.
Right.
Television's a business, you know, and there's not going to be any reality in which the executives that are tasked with making these big time casting decisions, they're not going to do themselves a disservice by prematurely making those decisions without giving themselves all the time in the world to see what works. So what we do know is that the casting for RHONY, you know, that's a long process in terms of, you know, meeting, and as they do every season, meeting, interviewing new women to think about what additions can be made. So, I mean, I think look at Orange County as a perfect example as to see just how thorough that process is. I'm sure there were a million considerations as to, do we scrap the whole thing and start over fresh? Do we bring back an old, you know, a historic veteran and mix that with the new? Do we do, it's just so many different possible combinations, David. Yeah. And what is clear to me is that all of this stupid, to me, it's very, very like silly and stupid and like very bored people literally making up cast. Like what? Like, you know, it's just really random. So no, I don't pay it any never mind, as we say in the South. And yeah, I just, you know, I'm living my life. I am a working businesswoman. I'm having great conversations with people like you about an incredible first year experience. And that's, you know, I'm sure that I will get a call from someone with authority when that time comes.
Totally. Well, if you were the one in authority, Ebony, would you bring back anyone from the past? All these wonderful people from the past? Like, anyone come to the top of your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think the obvious, you know, thought is Dorinda to me in terms, and I don't know Dorinda Bentley. I've never had a conversation with her. But, you know, I also think our show just needs more women. I mean, it needs so many more experiences and perspectives. I also think God bless veteran RHONY talent and women, but I don't know that you can continue to try to rehabilitate stories and things that people loved so much from 15 years ago, 13 years ago. Like, I think there's something around nostalgia that is really comforting to all of us. right? So whether it's rewatching Scary Island for the umpteenth time, or rewatching, Jill and Ramona on the tennis courts, or, Luann, saying, baby, we're going to get that yacht, whatever it is. I love all those moments too. I just don't think you can kind of put the toothpaste back in the tube. I think at some point people have to accept that those moments, as iconic as they were those moments. And this insistence and this kind of fantasy, really, of recreating those moments with those women might be a fool's errand.
Yeah, and just like in life, right? It's always about moving forward and learning, and just life changes.
Yeah, and accepting that was amazing at that time, and
Right.
being happy that it happened, and grateful that we'll always have those episodes and moments and iconic one-liners, and then realizing that you can't continue to wish for the fantasy of repeating magic, basically.
Right. What about and then we'll move on from this, but what about all those, Bethenny, everyone mentions Bethenny every other sentence.
I mean, listen, that's another person I don't know at all, but I'll tell you this. I mean, I don't think there's ever been anybody to manifest just everything from being a housewife. I guess my question would be, I think Bethenny's always going to be an interesting person, an interesting story, just watching her move. I know that she's a mentor in my head by way of business and what she's building and all of that. I don't know that she would be incentivized. I think the question would be, what in the hell would she get out of coming back to the show?
Yeah, she's busy.
A little bit, yeah.
Well, you talk about manifesting things. The last time you were here, you mentioned Meghan McCain, and I asked you, and it just triggered me. I said, would you ever consider, being a part of The View? Because I see that as a natural fit. And talk about putting it out into the world. I mean, I'm not taking credit for this or anything, Ebony, but
I knew you would, David. I knew you would.
Listen, this chat is all about you. It is not about me, but congratulations.
You're so sweet, my dear. No, thank you. No, you were the first in like a public conversation to, kind of go there and like toss that possibility out into the universe. So that was pretty cool. Thank you. Listen, I'm not playing it coy. I mean, it's a dream job. I told you that when you brought it up months ago. So to see my name even in print, alongside The View and Condoleezza Rice and Carly Fiorina and, all these other iconic women that are going to have an opportunity to sit at that table. It feels incredible. It feels like I'm doing something right. That's what it tells me, is that if my intention is to do two things, to show up in this world, demonstrating, not just talking about it, but demonstrating that women, and Black women in particular, belong in every single space in society in a full, authentic way. And the other one is to manifest conversation and the kind of real possibility of what a better shared humanity is amongst all people in our very beautiful America. If I can do those things at work, I don't think there's a better way to do it than at The View. That's how I feel about it. And the fact that I even get to sit 1 or 2 days at that table and just live that intention feels incredible.
It's like a huge honor. Have you heard from Meghan McCain and are you disappointed at all in the sense that she won't be there to, maybe spar with?
Yeah, I'll say that. If anything, Meghan and I, it was a time at Fox, and I do enjoy sparring with Meghan. Again, kind of going back to what I was saying earlier in the conversation. I don't get flustered or frustrated or upset or, heaven forbid, angry when someone takes a different position. That's kind of the sport of it. I mean, you understand this as a litigator. What are you going to do? Put your, pack up your toys and go home because opposing counsel's, making an adverse argument? That's the point. The point is they make their argument, you make theirs, and hopefully you somewhere along the way, justice is found. That's what this thing is. So, and Meghan and I were really good at it. So there's a little bit of what would it have been like to have that opportunity to be at the table with her. But listen, what I do know for sure is that the women of The View are some of the smartest women in television. They're some of the best prepared and experienced women with diverse. Like I was actually watching a clip this morning of Sunny and Sarah Haynes debating really the merits of Monica Lewinsky monetizing her story. And I loved it because it was vintage The View. You know, it was beyond just, to me, what I find really boring and like raggedy and lazy, not of the women, but just of the way news can be produced these days. The same old Republican versus Democrat bullshit that we'll hear till we're dead. Who cares? I don't care anyway. So to hear these more vintage View conversations that are really about the complication between culture and what's a victim and who has accountability between men and women and age and infidelity and power, like it was just rich and good. And so that feels very exciting to potentially take part in those conversations.
Well, mentioning Monica Lewinsky, if you're not watching American Crime Story,
I am.
It's
honey, you know I am. It's, first of all, anything with Sarah Paulson, honey, please.
It's so right. Like, it's so good. What do you think is the biggest misconception about Eboni K. Willams?
I think the biggest one, because there's a few, is that I am somehow representative of a Black trauma story. That's what I think. I think, and you kind of see it in the scene during this season where in Salem, that low point night where Ramona, you know, is saying to me, I don't see you as a victim and I don't think your life's been hard and which, and you know, look at you, you've got better clothes than me or something silly she said. But I was sad for Ramona in that point, David, because I thought to myself, this woman is missing it. She's missing all of it. And I think she actually is representative of quite the majority of people, Black, white, and other, that irresponsibly and ignorantly equate Blackness with trauma. They hear the word Blackness and they immediately think you're going to a sad, traumatized, oppressive place. When the reality is everything about when I brought up race this season, and actually when I bring up race every day in life, whether it's on my Instagram page, as I'm advocating for the people in Haiti or whatever, it is to talk about the beauty of the Black American experience. That's my work. It is a beautiful culture. It is a beautiful story of resilience, of triumph, of reinvention, and of progress. And anytime there was a conversation that was other than that, David, it was only a reaction and an accountability point of a castmate who stepped in it.